but we're gonna be putting that to the test to see if it actually works or not. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a little comparison on this Colorstay Dye Fixative. I'm going to be dyeing the same t-shirt, and then for half of it, I'm going to use this fixative, and for the other half, I'm not. So we're going to see if this actually makes a difference when it comes to dyeing something. So this right here is meant to enhance color, increases color retention, and reduces bleeding. But we're going to be putting that to the test to see if it actually works or not. So I first came across this last year when I used the Back to Black dye kit, which is this one right here. So this right here actually includes one of these, and it includes the jet black dye. So I used this last year when I did a comparison between the jet black dye versus the regular black dye to see if there was actually a difference or not. And for that, I used this for the first time, and I was super intrigued because I had never used anything like this before. So that's why back then I was like, you know what, I want to compare this to see if it actually works, because if it does, that's going to be a game changer. And here I am a whole year later finally getting around to doing it. So if you're curious to see if this fixative actually makes a difference when it comes to dyeing, then let's get started. I'm starting off by cutting an old cotton t-shirt in half. One side is going to have the fixative and the other is not. And I'm using the jet black dye for this, so I'm giving it a good shake. I'm going to use half a cup of dye for the shirt. I don't know the exact measurements that I need to be using, but this is what I'm going with since it's half the bottle. You have to use hot water for this dye, so I'm pouring hot water into a bucket, and I heated the water in the stove just to get it as hot as possible. The instructions say to add 1 cup of salt, but honestly I felt like that was too much, so I just eyeballed it and used sea salt because that's all I had. It also states to add 1 tablespoon of dish detergent, so I added some Palmolive soap. These usually go after the dye, so I don't even know why I added these before, but it's all good. So now let's just pour the actual dye, and I'm using a metal spoon just to mix everything. Now that the dye bath is ready, I'm adding both halves of the shirt, and these are both wet. Don't forget, you always have to wet your fabric. So now I'm just using the spoon to stir the shirt and make sure every part is submerged in the dye bath. You have to stir continuously for 30 to 60 minutes. The longer you leave it, the darker it will be. You also want to make sure to carefully lift the fabric on occasion so it doesn't stay folded the same way, because that sometimes causes unwanted patches. So just make sure to continuously stir so the fabric doesn't just sit in one place. I wanted these as dark as possible, so I left them for the full 60 minutes. And after the 60 minutes, it was time to take these out. Only one of these will be used with the fixative, so let's prep that. I got another clean bucket and poured hot water in it, and this water was boiled as well because it needs to be hot. Then I took the fixative and gave it a good shake. I used half a cup of this and then poured it in the water, and then went ahead and mixed it with the spoon again. Now for this, I'm only putting in the right side of the shirt. The other one will be left alone to see if there's actually a difference between using the fixative or not. So for the fixative, you need to continuously be stirring your fabric for 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes are up, go ahead and take this out and take it to the sink. Rinse this with cold water, and pay attention how this one has no dye bleeding whatsoever. The water is just running clear. So I'm just rinsing this one for a bit, and then I'm going to squeeze out the water. Now we have the left side of the shirt. This is the one that was not used with the fixative, and right off the bat, as you can see, there is some dye bleeding. The water isn't as clear as the previous one, so the fixative definitely helps absorb the dye. For this one, I'm rinsing it with hot water first until the water runs clear. And as you can see, this one definitely took longer to rinse since there was still some bleeding going on, and I was trying to get the water as clear as possible. So after the rinsing, I'm going in with cold water to lock in the dye. Then I'm taking both of them and throwing them into the wash. I'm washing them with a bit of detergent on the delicate cycle and then just letting them air dry. And since I cut the shirt down the middle, I'm just sewing it back together to really see if there's a difference or not. And here we have the shirts side by side. Here it is with the no fixative, and here's the fixative. This is the back of the shirt. So I hope you can catch it on camera. There's definitely a difference. So this one right here definitely is like a more true black. And this one right here with the no fixative, it has more of like a faded vintage black. So this one has more of like a purple tone going on, and this one has more of like, I don't know, for some reason it's giving me like a green tone to it. Clearly when they're alone, it's just straight up black. You have the black right there. Turn it this way, you have the black, but obviously when you put them side by side, you're gonna see the difference. Hopefully it's catching it on camera. And like I mentioned earlier, this is an old shirt, and I didn't focus on the front of the shirt because this shirt used to have a transfer on it. The transfers that you print with an inkjet printer. So I'm not sure if you can tell if it's catching it on camera. The transfer was right here. So in person, you can still kind of see it peeking through, like you could straight up tell there was something there, but it definitely muted it more. So this is maybe an idea if you have like a shirt with a faded transfer, go ahead and dye it black and then just go ahead and add another transfer to it because you won't even be able to tell. And it's funny because the longer I look at the shirt, the more green tone I see. I see a green tone and then a purple tone. I'm not even sure what you're seeing on camera, but it's still dark. It's definitely still dark than this one. And it's kind of funny to see that the fixative actually makes that much of a difference, because like I don't know if the fading on this has to do with the bleeding that you saw once you're washing it, like before throwing it into the wash, but clearly that fixative is doing something to it, because this one definitely seems like it has more dye than this one. It's more of like a saturated black than this one. And I also wanted to mention, last year I did a video of the jet black versus the regular black dye to see if there was a difference, and I used the fixative on both of them, and I did want to share the results of that in comparison with this because it straight up tripped me out, dude. So like I stated, here is jet black with no fixative, this is jet black with fixative, and here we have the results from last year. Jet black with fixative, regular black with fixative. Not sure if it's catching it up on camera, but this is a straight up purple hue in comparison to this. Let's do it this way. You see, now this is way more faded, way more purple than this. Like, if forget about this, if you put these together, this is straight up black, like no question about that, because this just looks straight up purple. Not purple, but like dark purple. And then here, it's funny that this is jet black with the fixative, but it doesn't even look the same. So I don't even know what happened there. And it's funny because this is the jet black with fixative, this is a jet black without fixative, and dude, it's like they're freaking identical. Like, are you kidding me? Like, look at that. Not sure if you can tell, but dude, it's straight up the same. I don't even know. So I don't know what's going on here, but like I say always go with the fixative because clearly it's darker here. It's funny that it's not even as dark here. Like, both of these are jet black with fixative and they're two completely different shades. Both of these are black on their own. This one does have more of like the green tint, but it's still black, and this one just has, I don't know, like a grayish tone to it. But like I said, if you were to have them by themselves, there would still be black. But it's just funny that these are different, you know? So the only explanation that I would have for these being different is the amount of water and dye that was used. For this one, I used pretty much the same bucket, so it was the same amount of water. But for this one, it was only half a shirt. So half a shirt got half a cup of dye, and then these got half a cup of dye, but the entire shirt. So I guess they got half of that dye in comparison to this. But this one still kind of looks a little bit darker than this one. I don't know, but I'm probably like confusing you by showing you all of these results. But yeah, it's just trippy that you can just get different results by using the same things, you know? Like, dye is always so unpredictable. So when it comes to dyeing, I say just the more dye you use, the better, especially when you want to go dark. So always double the amount of dye that you want to use. But yeah, back to this comparison. Clearly there's a difference, and I hope you can tell on camera. And here we have the shirt once again. Honestly, these results completely surprised me. As you could tell, the fixative definitely makes a difference. I didn't really think it was going to be that much of a difference because I'm dyeing the exact same dye. I was going to be like, oh, it was going to be slightly different, but no, it just completely changed its tone. So I feel what the fixative does, it, I guess, brings out its true color. Maybe this is the exact color that the jet black is supposed to be in comparison to this one right here that isn't as black. So seeing the two is like such a trip, you know? Here we have like a faded black, and then here we have a more darker black but with like a green tone. So it's just trippy to see that the fixative actually works. And now I feel like every time I'm going to dye something, I'm going to have to use a fixative, because as you saw when I was washing, there was no bleeding at all. And that's one of the things that kind of scares me when it comes to dyeing, because they always say when you dye something, always wash it by itself afterwards, because you don't want any of the bleeding of the dye to like get onto your other clothes. So knowing that the fixative actually works and doesn't cause bleeding, you can just feel free to throw it into the wash with your other stuff, you know? So I like that. That's like one of the main things that I like. So as you can see, we have two tones of black right here, but I did want to show you what it looks like with an actual black t-shirt. So here I have a black Bella canvas shirt. Can you even see the difference? So this bottom one right here is obviously a true black. So in comparison to the non-fixative one, this one definitely is like a straight up faded version of this one. They still have that same tone going on, but it's just much more faded. So this one kind of resembles, like, you know, when you leave black in the sun and it just starts losing its color. I kind of feel like that's what it looks like. And then we have this one right here. This is the fixative side. And then we have the Bella T right here. So for this one, the fixative side isn't showing as dark as the actual black t-shirt, but it's it's actually still showing it as two different tones as well. So this one, the bottom one, the t-shirt is actually showing like a true t-shirt, and then the fixative is, I'm telling you, showing like a green tone to it. It's still black, but it's not showing the same tone as the actual t-shirt, you know. So it's kind of trippy. So I guess there's different tones of black out there, but if you're gonna go with the black t-shirt, I always suggest go with an actual black t-shirt, because an actual black t-shirt is gonna have the full-on black pigment, and it's gonna give you the darkest pigment that there is. So the black dye is definitely gonna make your garments darker, but let's say you're starting off with a white t-shirt and you wanna make it black, I would say it's just better to just buy a black t-shirt, because that's for sure it's gonna be darker than you dyeing it. But if you have like a garment that's faded, then the dye will definitely help saturate it and make it not so faded anymore and bring it back to life. So I'm definitely a fan of dyeing stuff, and now for sure I'm gonna be using this, because obviously it works. As you saw in this video, it does work. So even with tie-dye, I heard you could use this, so I wanna try doing that with tie-dye just to see if it helps it, you know, because tie-dye is the one that actually tends to bleed, and that's like scary to dye with other things, you know, because it's like a million colors. And imagine like getting your other stuff dyed with like all these patches of like different colors. No way, Jose, we don't want that. So definitely try this out if you're curious. Like I stated, you could find it in this kit right here, but this one, luckily, you could buy it by itself. So this, you could find it alone. The jet black dye that I use in this video, you can buy alone. It only comes with this kit right here. Rit dye, come on, get it together. We want to be able to buy the dye by itself, not just in this kit, you know. So if you're curious about these, I'm gonna have a link down below. No, this video is not sponsored. I wish it was. Rit dye, if you want to collab, hit me up. Email me. But yeah, I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. And yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.